Our next presenter has been a member of this club for 6 years. If I'm not mistaken, he's also been our president twice. He was born in the Netherlands and came to this country when he was 4 years old. His formative years that developed his character and values took place in Detroit, Michigan. He has 5 adult children, 13 grandkids. He is a military veteran, having served in both the U.S. Army and the U.S. Air Force. Make no mistake, he says, freedom isn't free. The title of tonight's presentation is, We All Know the Questions. Who has the answers? Please help me welcome Mr. Bill Van Vienen.
Have you ever asked a question? No matter how many times you ask that question, or to whoever you ask that question to, you never receive a definitive answer. Madam Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. A few months ago, I had a very early doctor appointment. When I got back home, I glanced at my watch. It was only 9:30 in the morning. So I went in the kitchen and made a cup of coffee. I took my coffee and I went out in my living room and I sat down at my computer desk. Now, right below my keyboard, I have a yearly calendar. And the month facing me was the month of August. There were some dates that were highlighted, some were circled, there were some notes in the margin. And one of those dates happened to be my birthday, which got me to thinking, man, I'm getting old. And I glance off to the right where I have an old style analog clock, you know, the kind with hour, minute, second hand. And in the eerie quiet of the morning, all I could hear was the sound of that second hand. And it just sounded so loud. And it occurred to me that in life, that's all we really have. We all have a date on the calendar. Each and every one of us. It's got our name on it. That is our expiration date. That's the day that we check out. And make no mistake, that's also the day, for all practical purposes, that time for us stops. With that clock of mine, it'll still be ticking. As these morbid thoughts are going through my mind, I thought, it's just a beautiful day outside. Bluebird sky. So I grabbed my coffee cup and I thought, let me go outside. So I took my cup and I walked down my hallway. I walked through my family room and I stepped out my door wall. I went to my patio deck. Set my coffee down on my little table. I plopped myself down in my favorite lawn chair recliner. And for no particular reason, I just started thinking about my father. It was 25 plus years ago. My father was down the road in Southfield, Michigan, at Providence Hospital. He was lying on his deathbed. He didn't know it at the time. Neither did anyone in the family. You see, my father had experienced a massive heart attack. And he had undergone open heart surgery. Well, there were some complications, and he had contracted an infection. Ended up in the ICU. Over the next few days, I go back to visit him on the third day. He says to me, he says, you know, son, he says, life is short. He said, we have all kinds of questions, and we still don't have answers to. He said, all you really have is a limited amount of time to make the most of it. Make the most of it. It's the last conversation we ever had. And I think of that man every day. And I think of those words And as I'm thinking, and I'm sitting there in my backyard, I look across my yard, and in the center of my yard, I have a maple tree. And it's fair to say, that is the biggest tree in the entire neighborhood. That maple tree is over 3.5 foot in diameter. So I just followed it up. I followed the trunk all the way up. There was a slight opening up there between the branches. And I could make a faint outline of our moon. And I thought, 1969, they said it couldn't be done, putting a man on the moon. But some very smart people, scientists, technicians, engineers, they designed a rocket ship and sent it 250,000 miles up there, put a man on the moon, Neil Armstrong, and they brought all those astronauts safely back to Earth. And they all said it couldn't be done. And fast forward to 2004 and beyond. And these very intelligent people, some of the smartest among us, with the highest IQs, scientists, engineers, technicians, mathematicians from MIT, these people designed a rocket ship, sent it into orbit. Then it took off on a trajectory toward the planet Mars at a speed of upwards of 17,500 miles per hour. And it still took, even at that remarkable speed, 7 months to reach the planet Mars at a distance of over 44 million miles. That's mind-boggling, absolutely mind-boggling. What was even more amazing is that these people down in NASA, this entire team, they're able to communicate with it, although there's a time lapse, all that ways away. They lowered that little rover and that little helicopter down onto the lunar surface of Mars. And now that rover is sending back photographs and taking samples. It just amazes me. But it's the simplest questions, the ones that we asked when we were kids. Where did we come from? How did we get here? Why is life so short? Why did we die? When we do die, where do we go? You can ask the smartest people on the planet, and you can't get a definitive answer. Nobody knows. Before the pandemic hit, the last time I was in church was on a Christmas, maybe 2 years ago. And I remember looking around at the congregation, and 80% of the congregation were seniors. 65, 70 years old and older. 80%. I'm thinking to myself, these people got nothing better to do? No, it's not that at all. These people have no illusions. They're in the final chapter or two of their life. Their mortality is facing them. And all those questions you asked when you were a kid, they're in church. They're asking them again. They want answers. But they're not going to get a definitive answer. So what do they believe in? The unknown. We call it faith. The belief in the unknown. Regardless of what religion you are. It doesn't matter. You believe in something you don't know. As certain as I'm standing here, I just grabbed a handful of air. I know it's there. I can't see it. Neither can any of you. But I know it's there. Because if it wasn't there, I wouldn't last 3 minutes. And that's a fact. 3 minutes. I recall some evenings I'll go outside on a very dark night. The stars are out. And I just look up. And I just feel so insignificant. It's like we're a tiny grain of sand on all the beaches around the ocean. So insignificant when you look at the cosmos. And no one truly knows how far it goes, where it ends, or how it started. They're theories, but nobody truly knows. It's like my pop said, life is short. Make the best of it. Because soon enough, each and every one of us, time will be up. And maybe all those questions that we had, all of them, maybe, just maybe, you may finally get an answer. But I'm Toastmaster.